Well, welcome to virtual LGBTQ plus visit day. We have a bunch of campus partners here to help us this evening, and I will let them introduce themselves and where they work. And yeah, so we'll start with Elliott.
Hey, I'm Elliott Parsons. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I work for the Doyle Center for Gender and Sexuality.
We'll go to Jen.
Hey everybody, I'm Jen Arts. I serve as Associate Director of Residence Life, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers.
Deirdre.
So I am Deirdre Dulsing and Director of Counseling Services, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers.
Jason.
My name is Jason Roth. I graduated in May of 2020. I currently work for Driftless Market, which is an organic grocery store here in Platteville, Wisconsin. And my pronouns are he, him, his.
Emily.
Hi, my name is Emily Steyer, and I am the coordinator for the Department of Campus Climate at UW-Platteville. My pronouns are she, her, hers.
And Caden.
Hey everyone, my name is Caden Carpentier. I'm the trainer for the Department of Campus Climate. And Nicole, I think you also need to introduce yourself. I'm not sure if you did that today.
I apologize. My name is Nicole Mitchell. I work in the Office of Admission Welcome Center, and my job is organizing campus visits. So one of these, and my pronouns are she, her, hers. And then Kendra, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Kendra Rouse, and I'm part of the Exponent, and I'm writing an article based on this.
Awesome. All right, so we're glad that you all are here today, and I will turn it over to Caden for our first question to our panel.
Awesome. All right, first question. What is it like being an LGBTQ plus student on campus?
I think I'll go since I am the recent graduate. So it can be a little challenging at times, to be honest, but you just have to connect with the right people, whether that is like the Doyle Center or Campus Climate or any of the wonderful people that are here at this panel right now, working with the Alliance, which is our LGBTQ plus student organization, or in fact, many of our student organizations are awesome ways to connect with all sorts of different students from all sorts of different backgrounds. All our professors, our faculty, our staff, they're all wonderful people. So like I said, it can be challenging. There can be some challenges that you have to overcome. We are in rural Wisconsin, so there's still some opinions that have to be changed or help folks understand differences. But really, those connections are what's going to help you, and that's what's going to make it so rewarding and so exciting.
Awesome. Thank you, Jason. Jason, since you are our alum, I'm just gonna move to the next one, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
All right. What resources are on campus for LGBTQ plus students who might be struggling? Let's start with Elliott.
We have the Doyle Center for Gender and Sexuality here on campus, which is an LGBTQ resource center and a women's center here on campus where you can just come, hang out, make new friends, come to one of our programs. We also advocate for students throughout the campus. Then we also have wonderful services such as the Dean of Students. We also have counseling services. And then I'm probably forgetting somebody. So feel free to jump in, Jen or Deidre or anyone else, Jason.
We would hope from the residence life perspective that you would see your resident assistant and your resident director also as resources for you in navigating some of those everyday living conversations with roommates, to navigating potential incidents of concern related to supporting yourself through your academic life, so to speak, on campus. So I think those are also some great resources along with our central staff and residence life too. I would hope that you would find resources all over campus. I think that that's something that's you'll find folks that are able to support you in both your academic career as well as, you know, your social holistic side of yourself too. So that's what our hope for outcome here is at Platteville.
I will
jump
say,
in.
if you want to see the space, there is a stop on our virtual tour to see the Doyle Center and how comfy and welcoming that is for our students.
I completely forgot about that. Thank you for mentioning that, Nicole.
Deirdre, did you want to weigh in?
Thank you, Kaden. I'll just jump in and kind of continue from where Elliott and Jen left off. But so we have a counseling center here on campus where we have 5 licensed mental health counselors. We deal with a variety of student-driven needs across campus, but we also provide a support group for LGBTQA individuals, as well as we are able to, all of us have been trained in supporting students who are looking at transition, needing hormone therapy. We coordinate that with our student health services. So we consider ourselves a really great resource on campus. We know that some students are not as comfortable talking to a mental health counselor. It doesn't have to be anything about mental health. Sometimes it's just about those roommate situations when students are living together, right, Jen? Or, you know, concerns that they have in terms of family or other situations going on. So I encourage you to know that lots of offices you can just stop by, hopefully once we're out of this virtual world, and you know, get to know people, talk a little bit, get comfortable, but lots of different resources.
Emily, you want to weigh in?
Yeah, I think that I'll also just mention quickly that the Department of Campus Climate serves as kind of a central hub for all things diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so, you know, ourselves personally, but then in our professional roles as well, can certainly help either provide LGBTQ specific resources or point folks and students into other resources on campus that may be of interest or need for them.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. Anyone else want to weigh in on that one? Okay. All right. Third question. What are some LGBTQ plus affirming spaces in the Platteville community? Jason, do you want to start this one?
Yeah, definitely. So obviously where I'm working right now, Dripless Market would be, is a great place for, it's a great affirming place. So Dripless Market started with a lesbian couple and 2 allies. And then we went through a transition with some new owners, and it's now owned by a gay couple and 2 more allies. So Dripless Market has always been a place where people can feel welcome, specifically people who are part of the LGBTQ plus community. That's the reason why I started working here, was because it was an affirming place to work. That's why we have a lot of people who work here, a lot of people who visit. And, you know, we're starting to open back up our upstairs dining space. So if you wanted to come in, grab a nice hot bowl of soup, grab a sandwich or a snack, and then come upstairs and study for a little bit, you're more than welcome to do that. And it'll be a nice, safe space for you to do so. But besides that, the public library is a great resource as well. There is now a Black Platteville network. So if you are a person of color, they have they're very inclusive there as well. So that's a great welcoming and affirming space as well. If you are religious, there is the First Congregational United Church of Christ. So that is a great resource for you as well. Pastor Reverend Zaina is absolutely wonderful. She's very loving and is very supportive of the LGBTQ plus community. And we also have the Southwest Wisconsin Rainbow Alliance, which Elliott is a part of and helped found. That is a community organization that meets very regularly and is working to advance the rights of LGBTQ plus people in Southwest Wisconsin. So those are just some of the affirming spaces here in Platteville. I will also say that our city council has a new task force on diversity and inclusion. So it's on everyone's minds, making sure that Platteville is a safe, affirming, and supportive space for LGBTQ plus people.
Thank you, Jason. Elliot, do you want to weigh in on that?
Jason, I feel like stole all my thunder there.
I'm sorry.
I was going to mention the Southwest Rainbow Alliance, but you've already gotten that covered for me. So I think we're good to go unless someone else on the panel has something to say.
I will say there are businesses that you will see the flag in their windows, which is another great sign. I know Badger Brothers has one, a nice, great coffee shop to go to as well. So just keep an eye on the different businesses in town, and you might find more than you think.
And did we mention Barbershop Rock?
Mm-mm.
Okay, really great LGBT affirming haircut place. So if you would like to be treated with respect while getting your haircut and not feeling entirely awkward, great place to go.
I think we forgot one now that I'm thinking about it. There is a kind of like a kickboxing place, I believe, here in town that's LGBTQ owned. I can't remember the name of it. If someone remembers the name of it, please shout it out.
I don't know it, but
Are you talking about High Vibe Fitness?
Yes.
Is that the one?
Thank
Okay.
you.
So they offer different classes. It's not necessarily like a gym with just workout space. They do class specific training. So
Very cool space.
Yeah. And our local gyms, I think in general, are usually pretty affirming spaces. I think Anytime Fitness is usually the one that I hear a lot of community folks going to. So you'll find fam there. All right. Any other thoughts on that one? Okay. All right. So what options do students have if they would like to use their chosen name and pronouns at UW-Platteville? Nicole, let's start with you.
there is, especially in all of our visit forms, there's an option to include your preferred name. And so we are working to get that, I think, into pass more specifically. Elliott might be able to talk about that a little bit more.
We're still working kind of with some of the stuff in pass when it comes to the names, but that's definitely something in pass where you can update your name. We also can update your name through the registrar's office and on your student ID as well.
Correct.
And I feel like I'm forgetting something.
You can also update your pronouns in pass, right?
I think so.
You can,
But
it's not
the student
really
ID is a big one for them, for people.
It's not really going anywhere yet in pass, but that's something that we're working on right now where you can update it and it'll actually go somewhere. So that's it's one of our current projects.
I will say the resident assistants in the buildings do a good job of identifying people by the names they want to be called by. So just have that conversation if you feel comfortable with your RA, so that they know and are aware, and they will do a good job of supporting you and what you need.
Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but if you do update your name in pass or with the registrar's office, it will show up on your school roster, right? So like if a professor prints off their roster, so if you're coming into the university and signing up for classes, just a good thing to try to stay on top of in the event that a professor does roll call, that way they know what name you'd like to use from day one, and there isn't that awkward, dead name situation happening.
Very good point, Caden.
All right. Any other thoughts on names and pronouns? Okay, cool. All right. This one is for Jen.
Caden?
Yeah.
Can I jump in? I do want to maybe, I'm not in a particularly, well, it's not like I can share stories or people's journeys as they come through counseling, but I do want to say for some of the students that are thinking about coming to Platteville and thinking about that process of changing names and going through all this maybe paperwork or the bureaucracy of it. I know that for many students, we've had very good success with their professors, not even thinking twice about it when the request is made to them, to be sensitive, aware, and to help with that identity piece. So I hear both the good and the bad when I talk about from a counseling perspective, but definitely, I think I've even been surprised myself sometimes when students are saying this worked out really, really well. And even so on campus in most of their work environments would be the same thing. If you're thinking about employment on campus, same situation. So yes, like Jason said earlier, there's always going to be some difficulty and struggles you have to be aware of, but we've had good success, I think, in terms of professors being aware, being sensitive to how students want to identify at this point, how they do identify. So I just wanted to add that quick before moving forward.
I appreciate that. And you also brought up a really good point about just employment services on general. I know one of our biggest employers on campus is, other than residence life, is dining services. They usually are employing 400 plus people in a given year. And we've had a really great partnership and collaboration with them in talking about, making sure that the right name tags are printed, or if somebody wants to update their name tag, that's done without question. And even, I think the only time, the main hitch that we've seen is when it comes to payment. Sometimes on pay stubs or paychecks, a dead name might be used if that is your legal birth name. So until that's updated, that might still show up on pay stubs. But other than that, within those spaces, you should be identified as you're wanting. Emily?
And I think that to kind of branch off of what Deirdre brought up as well, the advocates like in this Zoom meeting and other folks that you may find on campus are also folks you could come to help you navigate all of the paperwork, all of the different processes. For better or for worse, higher ed involves like a lot of different modes of here's the website and here's Canvas and here's where I get my grades through. Like there's just a lot. And so it can feel really overwhelming. And I would say likely a lot of us in this space and others outside of it have had experience helping students navigate those barriers. And then also, if needed, guiding or even having conversations with students, with their professors, or maybe employers on campus, if there are barriers that are present, or maybe there's nervousness or whatever the challenge might be. I think that knowing that we can be advocates in that way is helpful as well.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And also that in the event that something goes wrong and somebody isn't being supportive, there are follow-up resources for that too. So I think that's an important piece too, that if you're not being treated with dignity or the respect that you deserve, these are also folks in this room that can step in to advocate or make sure that there's some type of follow-up so that is being addressed appropriately. Yeah, good work, team. Okay, are we good to go on to the next question? We good? Okay. All right, this one is for Jen. Could you tell us about inclusive housing options on campus?
Yeah, so we have a wide range of different accommodations, different amenities that are within different pricing tiers for budgets and whatnot. And so we really want you to feel safe and comfortable wherever it is that you might be living on campus. We do have some living learning communities that many of our students decide to participate in based on their academic major. And so we're able to, no matter how you identify, be able to work with you to make sure that you can participate in those specific living learning communities. As you progress through your academic career, we also have Southwest Hall, which has all gender inclusive housing available to students within the suites. So no matter how you identify, we hope that you find a place that you can call home here at Platteville. We do encourage you to reach out specifically to me. And if you are looking to be housed in a place where your identity may not be your affirmed gender at this point. So we're hoping that you'll be able to reach out to me and we can have a conversation and see where it is that you're going to feel comfortable. Unfortunately, at this point, as Elliott mentioned earlier, our pass system is not pulling the preferred gender the way that we want it to. And so this is the best option that we have, is to have that conversation about comfort level and amenities and budget and see where everything kind of lands. And I am so happy to work with you on that to get folks comfortable where they want to live. So yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Jen. Anyone else
Absolutely.
want to weigh in on that one? You also made me think about two, just maybe like words of caution that would be helpful to throw out there. And unfortunately, when, through the application process, when you do have to list a gender and it's usually male or female, you might be put on different listservs on campus, like Women in STEM, Male Club, and that kind of thing. So you may receive emails and things that are not affirming to your gender. And that is a tweak that we know that we need to work on, and something that needs to be addressed, and that is in the process of being addressed. But just a word of caution that unfortunately that may be something that you experience, and the intention obviously is not to cause harm, but it's always probably good to warn people that might be a possibility. All right, next one, and this one might be we'll start with Deirdre first. What are some specific LGBTQ+ health and mental health resources on campus?
So students should be familiar with the fact that we have both a counseling center as well as a health center on campus. Both of them working to maintain that affirming status for students who identify. So paperwork has been updated, health services in terms of having treatment available for students who are considering transition, counseling specific to identity issues, health issues. I think those are the services that we probably talk about the most, but we also have a tremendous amount of available resources that are more digital or virtual, if you want to think about that, in terms of podcasts, apps, things that we would encourage students to take advantage of that are specific to their identity, or even just specific to what they're looking for in terms of relationships and whatnot. So I would start off with that. I think that there's been tremendous growth over the past many years with student health services specifically. And we're fortunate to have a doctor who is very familiar and more than motivated to help students who identify LGBTQA. So those are the first things I would think of for sure.
Awesome. Thank you, Deirdre.
Mm-hmm.
Elliott, would you like to weigh in on that at all?
I'll just say we have a fantastic counseling services and health services here on campus, so as Deirdre was just saying. So just want to echo that real quick.
Yeah, and we do have a doctor that comes to campus. Is it once a week, or at least a couple times a week, who is also working out of our main clinic in the Platteville area, who does who offers treatment for trans folks. So if you're interested in starting a hormone process or wanting to explore what that can look like, I think that's something that has been that I thought that was really cool, that it's not just any doctor coming to campus. It is somebody who professionally works with trans folks and works on that affirming gender process. So,
and she is my primary care physician, and she's probably the most wonderful doctor I've ever had. So
Right.
I really would recommend her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we're very fortunate. I think many of the UW schools try to offer that, but to find a physician like Dr. Anna, and who has really taken on the community in terms of what she can do and how can she be of assistance, it's been transformative, I think, especially on our campus for some students. So thank you to Elliott for recognized counseling, but yeah, Dr. Anna, she is a gem. We're fortunate. And the community too, because I think she plays a role there as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, listing her as a community resource would be appropriate too. She's also my primary care doctor, and yeah, definitely probably the best doctor I've ever encountered, to be honest. She's pretty wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Any other thoughts about health or mental health resources on campus?
I kind of wanted to mention specifically when it comes to sexual assault resources, prevention, education. I would say that our Dean of Students office, all employees in that space are affirming and well educated around LGBTQ identity and the various experiences, particularly as it relates to sexual violence or resources needed, particular for that community. And then I just wanted to give a shout out to our community advocate, Paula, who works for family advocates in the Platteville and then surrounding counties as well. Also know her to be LGBTQ plus affirming. And so if you're looking for some advocacy off campus, and although she does come to campus, but something that more in the community, I would say that her role and others through family advocates as well have proven to be LGBTQ affirming as well.
Yeah, that was awesome, Emily. Thank you so much for bringing them up. Definitely really affirming folks and also really great resources. All right, any other thoughts before we move on? Okay, all right, final question, are we ready? What trainings, and this actually might be one that I answer, what trainings are available for campus to learn more about LGBTQ plus identities? Elliott, let's start with you in the Doyle Center.
We have two different trainings. We have an ally training, which is a basic LGBTQ training, and we have trans topics, which goes further deeper into transgender identities. And then we do have kind of an option upon request for LGBTQ trainings as well. Like for International Pronouns Day, for example, we have a pronouns training that we go through every time that it comes up. So now I'm going to bring it back to Caden, because I know Caden and Emily have some great trainings too.
Awesome. Yeah. So oftentimes, we obviously want to defer to the Doyle Center and take, their lead, of course, on LGBTQ issues. At the same time, Emily and I do really try to bring intersectionality into the table when we're putting on trainings and make sure that we are highlighting a multitude of identities and also talking about those intersections when people are holding a multitude of identities at once. So like Emily mentioned earlier, we often act as a hub for diversity, equity, and inclusion issues. So oftentimes LGBTQ identity things fall into our wheelhouse, or we'll collaborate with the Doyle Center. But again, just happy to be another department on campus that can offer resources and connect, or at least help connect folks with resources as needed. Any other thoughts on that one?
I think one of the things that the resident assistants try to do is talk about diversity and inclusion from the lens of community and building those inclusive communities for all people, right? In terms of differences. Many times being in the rural community that we are, some of our students haven't worked or lived or been in classroom spaces with students who identify any which way different than what they are, right? Or who they are. And so one of the things that we do in residence life is really try to, with that intersectionality piece that Caden's talking about, everybody's together in one community. And so how do we work together to build it and feel safe within those communities and have fun, and be social and be silly and hopefully be able to have pizza parties again together sometime soon. But not being afraid and shying away from the conversation is something that, we continue to work on because we get new batches of students every single year that are learning and developing and growing through that process. So just wanted to throw that out there too.
Thank you, Jen. Something I also want to just point out too is obviously everyone on this call is has a perception of I don't know everyone's identities, but we all look really white, right? So like a lot of folks on this call right now are white. And so I want to name that oftentimes I think LGBTQ identity is usually associated with white identity, and not often focused on that intersectional lens of pertaining to BIPOC folks. And so wanting to put out there that we do have an Office of Multicultural Studies on campus. We do have really awesome BIPOC staff that are LGBTQ affirming. So we do have, we have a limited number of offices present here, but there are many others that could also be present at the table to speak to a variety of identities, not just white folks, not just LGBTQ folks. So want to put that out there. And Emily also mentioned the Alliance. Elliott or Jason, could you speak to the Alliance as a supportive space on campus?
Hello. I definitely can start speaking about it, and then Elliott can input anything that I missed. So the Alliance is our LGBTQ+ student organization on campus. We traditionally meet once a week. I think right now it's virtually, and we host all sorts of different events throughout the year. We host Rainbow Rave, which is our primary event. That is our LGBTQ+ conference and drag show. We also attend MimbleTech, which is the Midwest Bisexual, Lesbian, Gay, Transgender, Asexual College Conference, and that is a wonderful time. So it's a really good place to make those connections. And it's a really good place to learn and to grow, and to feel like you're part of a community.
Elliott, would you like to jump in with anything to the Alliance?
Most of it. So I don't have anything to add.
I will say we've talked about a lot of great resources. There are still instances where our students do face hate and bias on our campus. And so there is a way to report it to help make sure there's follow-up with anybody who's experienced hate and bias on our campus. And there's a really great team of resources that meet with our students and will follow up with them from those reports. So unfortunately, it still happens, but we want to make sure that we are there to help anybody who is feeling any or experiencing any hate and bias.
Yeah, I appreciate you mentioning that, Nicole, because yes, we have these resources in place. We've got awesome staff that are here to support. We're not naive. We know that these things do happen. We know that it likely will happen, unfortunately. But yeah, the hope is that we can continue growing and continue addressing these things. I think that's an awesome way that Campus Climate has been able to step in. Is Emily is part of our University Bias Incident team. So she attends those meetings, helps coordinate those things. But if there is a training component where we need to have, a hard conversation or lessons learned, that's where I can come in and we can provide either one-on-one consultation or department-wide training. So that is something that we do try to collaborate on and try to build, not only addressing behaviors or instances as they happen, but also looking at long-term solutions and trying to also look at preventative methods after things happen as well, not just looking at things in a reactive capacity. So I think that's an important piece too. All right, my friends, any other thoughts or comments, resources? Any words of caution we should throw out? I mentioned the listserv.
Caden, I wouldn't, it's certainly not a mention of anything to be worried about or whatnot, or to be aware of. I just want to plug Jason. It's real important, I think, to reference where Jason has been with us on campus and the growth. And I think it's a stellar opportunity, Jason, to kind of show and showcase someone who has done so much in terms of our community, both on campus and as well as the local community advocating. But, like the Alliance is not only a student organization that gets together to increase awareness and to promote affirming behavior, but it's also a social activity. It helps people meet other people. It helps to build. I have seen relationships continue well after graduation. Jason is one example of somebody who will continue to be coming back year after year for our conference, for the rainbow, the drag show, for sure. I mean, there's so much value. I don't want it to sometimes student org sound like I just go to a meeting. But this is a meeting that also includes social opportunities that I think sometimes students who identify feel are restricted for them. So, but you know, I just can't, with Jason being on the call, I just can't not, you know, I can't not indicate and identify how important he has been on our campus in the last few years as he prepared for graduation. So he really is somebody to look up to.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Deidre.
Mm-hmm.
And it wouldn't have been possible though without all of the support that I received through all of these awesome departments that we've been talking about. You know, whether it is the Department of Residence Life, I was an RA for a year, whether it was with the Doyle Center, collaborating with the Alliance, and I got to work with Elliott and Emily with the Doyle Center, or whether it's with Campus Climate, getting to work with Emily and Kaden, and Nicole is just a wonderful person in general, but all of her amazing work that she does throughout campus. So I was able to succeed because of the amazing people that were here to support myself and all the other LGBTQ+ students who are on campus.
Yeah, I was gonna say, anytime you want to come back, Jason, like, really. Yeah. Well, and I think, you know, I'm glad that you brought that up, Deirdre, because I think an important piece for us all to realize is that we don't always have the answers. We don't always know, you know, what students are needing. And so I think having those collaborations for us with students is also just incredibly mutually benefiting, not only for the support we can provide, but also to keep us in check, to make sure that we are staying, you know, kind of on top of best practice, make sure that we are providing services that are relevant and worthwhile, and yeah, just helping us meet the needs of the campus.
I think like something else I would mention is that even from the top level leadership at our institution, I think that it's good to know that you can feel confident that our chancellor, as well as those kind of directly working below him, have a commitment to diversity, equity, inclusion. And I don't know if that's always present at colleges and universities, or it's spoken so frequently about, or is folded into things like strategic planning and policies, all those big things, right? So while I would say that the folks on this call and the other resources we mentioned are more of those go-to and hands-on resources, just knowing that as a university as a whole, that those values and mission are kind of present and at the forefront, again, coming from our chancellor, as well as those working closely around him and really like leading the University of Wisconsin-Platteville.
All right, friends, I feel like we've had like and one more thing at least like 20 times now. So anything else?
It's not a Midwest goodbye without it.
I was gonna say, you at least need to have your hand touching your car by the end of this Zoom call. Otherwise, it's no good.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us tonight. We will definitely get some documents together to share some of the resources that we talked about today, as well as contact information if you want to follow up with anybody who's joined us tonight. We will get you all of that information.